Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Friday, May 2nd, 2025. Last night, the Trump administration signing another executive order, this time to defund NPR and PBS. And we're going to see what a ritual it is. But first, let's just see how the mainstream news covers it. Quick minute story, and then we'll jump into it.
Also, some news being made overnight. President Trump signing another executive order. This one aimed at cutting funding for NPR and PBS. What more can you tell us about that?
Craig, you're right. The president ordering the end of federal funding for both public news outlets, which the White House in the past has accused of biased and partisan news coverage and programming. Federal funding notably counts for about 15% of PBS's and 1% of NPR's budget, with the rest largely coming from outside donations. So it's likely not going to shut down either outlet, but the critics say the cuts could largely impact the communities that rely on local stations and their programming. Notably, this move is all but certainly going to be challenged in court. Of course, it's just the latest chapter in President Trump's clash with the media. We have reached out to NPR and to PBS and have not received statements back.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Okay, so that is the news. And Trump did this on May Day, the day of nationwide protests against Trump. And you can imagine a lot of those people who were out there protesting against Trump do listen to NPR. I got to say, PBS, again, just like everything on TV, it's propaganda. But if there's a best propaganda network where you might get more credible information than anywhere else, it is PBS. And it's been that way for all of our lifetimes. But take a look at this. Take a look at how this ritual goes down. Again, we know the Jesuits controlled Trump, the puppet, and he did this on the Illuminati's birthday, which was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. Look at what's going on here. NPR aired its first broadcast April 20th, 1971. So we just passed the 54th anniversary. Just passed the 54th anniversary. 54. And PBS, their first broadcast was October 5th, 1970. So their first broadcast was 54 years ago and some months. Later this year, it'll be the 55th. So we have 54 years and change for both networks. Trump is cutting funding through the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which was founded in history on November 7th. The day leaving 54 days left in the year. And again, if you're saying, so what with all the 54? It's not so what. It's learn who that number belongs to. It's the same people that run your federal government and control Puppet Trump and Puppet Biden and the rest of the puppets they put in the rigged selections. Again, look into the Jesuits, whose headquarters is at the Church of the Jesu, Building 54. The same Jesuits who at their pinnacle had 54 universities operating in the U.S. The same Jesuits who established their first university, Georgetown, with a 54-year-old John Carroll. And then again, you learn the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. John Carroll equates to 54, as does Jesuit order. Super redundant patterns. And again, Trump, Jesuit educated at Fordham. So many rituals with 54 in the Jesuits, and here comes the latest. As for this happening on the Illuminati's birthday, remember, the Illuminati was founded in Bavaria by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. Bavaria also equates to 54. If you're new here, the 4 base ciphers of the English language are the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26. The alphabetic order with numerology applied to each letter. So you're still using the alphabetic order. You're just turning each letter into single-digit numbers. So A would still be 1, B still 2. Where it would change is when you get to J, the 10th letter, the numerology of 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. K, the 11th letter is 1 plus 1 is 2. L, the 12th letter is 1 plus 2 is 3. So on. The other 2 ciphers are just running the alphabetic order in reverse and running it in reverse with numerology. And of course, President Trump equates to 72, as does President Biden, both Jesuit-educated men. With regards to the 72, it does also factor in here. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting equates to 359, which is the 72nd prime number. It's kind of like how when the Jesuits were taken out of suppression, that happened 359 days after the Pope's birthday, the Pope who took him out of suppression. And don't forget, when they came out of suppression, it was also 144 days after James Madison's birthday, who was the sitting president at the time, the father of the Constitution. But yeah, just again, so obvious what's going on. The Jesuits, the one Lincoln blamed for the American Civil War. John Surratt, the Jesuit who got away in the assassination plot, so they executed his mother. The same John Surratt who's left out of history books. Again, you go to school for all these years, you learn about John Wilkes Booth and the supposed assassination in the theater, and they never tell you about John Surratt, and they never tell you that Lincoln blamed the American Civil War on the Jesuits. Just all that information's left out. You can watch NPR and PBS all day. Listen or watch, I should say. NPR is on the radio, PBS is on the TV. PBS has radio as well, but again, they don't bring up these things ever. Ever. Did NPR ever bring up the simulation of the scandemic put on by the Jesuit Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum the same day the military world games began in Wuhan, China? I mean, endless programming about the scandemic, and not once was it ever brought up. Not ever. Anyhow, just to read a little bit of the reporting, President Donald Trump signed an executive order Thursday directing the Corporation for the Public Broadcasting to end federal funding for America's two biggest public broadcasters, which have faced a series of attacks from the White House and Republican lawmakers accusing them of biased reporting. By the way, just the thumbnail. Again, if you didn't recognize the thumbnail, it's a picture of Trump in the They Live. I'm missing the word. In the They Live style, if you will. That's not the word I wanted. But if you've never seen the film They Live, again, look into it. It's about how there's these people amongst us that look a lot like us unless you got the special lenses on, and then you can see they're part of a group, and they belong to something called Cable 54. And that movie stars Roddy Piper. And again, Roddy Piper just happened to tweet on September 27th, the day in history the Jesuits are recognized by Rome, that movie's a documentary. And then he died not long after, at a very young age. And he died on the anniversary of the founder of the Jesuits' death. And Roddy Piper, his date of birth, look at what year he was born in. He was born in 54. 54. If he were still living, he would have turned 71 this year. Not all that old. And he's been dead for some time. He's been dead for nearly a decade. Be the 10th anniversary of his death this year. He died on July 31st, the feast day of Ignatius of Loyola. Anyway, coming back, the order instructs the CPB's board to terminate direct funding for national public radio and public broadcasting service to the maximum extent allowed by law and shall decline to provide future funding. It also orders the board to take steps to minimize or eliminate indirect funding to NPR and PBS. The corporation, however, is a private entity that is supposed to be protected from government interference, including executive orders from the president. The corporation is currently suing Trump because of the White House trying to terminate 3 of its board members earlier this week. And think about all these lawsuits against the federal government, one branch of government suing another branch. Who pays for all these expensive lawsuits? We, the taxpayers. CPB is not a federal executive agency subject to the president's authority. The corporation's CEO, Patricia Harrison, said in a statement, Congress directly authorized and funded CPB to be a private nonprofit corporation wholly independent of the federal government. The president's blatantly unlawful executive order issued in the middle of the night threatens our ability to serve the American public with educational programming, as we have for the past 50-plus years, PBS CEO Paula Kerger said in a statement Friday morning. We are currently exploring all options to allow PBS to continue to serve our member stations and all Americans. Each year, the CPB disperses $535 million in taxpayer funds to public radio and TV stations nationwide and producers of educational and cultural programming. Stations, in turn, provide free and universal access to news, emergency alerts, and a wide array of programming. In Trump's first term, his annual budget proposals zeroed out the funding for the corporation, but Congress always allocated the funds anyway, a reflection of the fact that national Republican opposition to NPR and PBS is countered by local support. By the way, just about the whole thing of the Illuminati's birthday that Trump did this on when, again, it was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt in Bavaria. Trump also did this ritual on the 322nd day of his age. Of course, the founder of the Illuminati died on the 322nd day of the year, November 18th, 1830. So just multiple signals and shout outs to the Illuminati. And again, don't forget that Trump's face is in the Illuminati card deck. The enough is enough card. Enough is enough equals 78. Just like how old the chump is right now. Just like the word Jesuit itself equals 78. Like Tesla's 78. Like, again, Elon Musk declared the world's richest man for the first time ever, January 7th, 2021, the 78th death anniversary of Nikola Tesla. And of course, it was Trump's uncle in the FBI who did the audit of Tesla's papers after he died. And then the two Jesuit goons and puppets are united as one while Trump's 78 years old and become the face of the U.S. federal government. And again, you have all these NPR and PBS watchers out there protesting the chump and protesting Musk, not realizing they're puppet on strings. Meanwhile, they're probably sending their children to Jesuit universities. And again, you know, the Jesuit universities are good. There's no doubt about that. But it's also no doubt where the Jesuit cabal handpicks their future chosen puppets. They get a good look at them in the classrooms. Say, oh, here's the right one that'll be a perfect sellout and help undermine America further. And a nation who forgot its history, who forgot that the majority of the founders were opposed to the Catholic Church and its tyranny in Europe. The fact that the founders warned that if the Jesuits came out of suppression, they could subvert the nation. And again, of course, all this information's been forgotten because it's never talked about. Now you just get nonstop programming of all the divisive crap, all the useless rhetoric, everything but what matters. And then if they dare do touch on it, it'd be something like, and meanwhile, some conspiracy theorists think a simulation put on October 18th, 2019 by the World Economic Forum and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the CDC from China and the U.S. and a number of corporations and banks is evidence of a conspiracy. In other news, Donald Trump, you know what I mean? It's like, okay. Yeah, it does sound like evidence of a conspiracy. But again, that's the way the news all. If they ever bring these things up, they bring it back up like it's some kind of joke, and you got to be some kind of Looney Tune to think there's anything there. And of course, the program masses who just go along with what the authorities tell them, they don't bat an eye. You got to love that PBS was also founded on November 3rd, 113. Again, if you guys don't know about 113, take a good look at the Talmud. It's the number of deception. It says a certain group of people can lie to a certain group of other people. And again, every word that has to do with deception essentially has a gematria value 113. It's truly amazing. The word mainstream is also 113. So it is funny that PBS was founded on November 3rd. And again, the first broadcast on October 5th. And keep in mind, order of Illuminati equals 105. We talked about the singer who was dead, who burned up in her house on the Illuminati's birthday. We covered that last night, how she was dead 105 days from her birthday. Order of Illuminati 105. October 5th is the day, leaving 87 days left in the year, for the record. Another number that ties in with Ignatius of Loyola and the Jesuits. Because again, the Jesuits have been running this show the whole time. All right. I think those were all the main points I wanted to hit. And if you saw this this story this morning, the U.S. economy supposedly added 177,000 jobs, surprising everyone in the month of April. The Jesuit order equals 177, like New World Order, like propaganda. And don't forget, the first ever use of the word propaganda was by the Catholic Church, who the Jesuits serve. They serve the Pope. Yeah, again, the Jesuit order, New World Order, propaganda, all 177. And that is how they control the minds of the masses every day. And again, you see it right now with the tariff war, how they have to make sure prices stay extra low for technology and screens. Couldn't dare make them more expensive. Without the screens, how do they control the minds of the masses? For everyone who thinks we're just in some kind of simulation and all this is just playing out just because, again, it's because you have really poor thinking and critical thinking, or I should say critical thinking skills, poor logic, poor reasoning. Again, these people have to maintain the mind control through the nonstop propaganda and ritualism every day. This isn't just some organic matrix playing out. They got to make sure the screens are in everyone's pocket, highly affordable. Again, it's like everything is drastically more expensive from 30 years ago, except for technology. Technology is drastically cheaper. You can get a way better computer right now than you could in 95 for less money than it costed in 95. Like I said, a compact Presario piece of junk was $2,000 in the mid-90s. You can get an awesome computer today for $1,000 or less. A big screen TV in the mid-90s, part of it was because they were so heavy, but I mean, that would have cost you $3,000 for the top TV. I mean, you could argue the top TV today might cost more than $3,000, but it's also as big as a movie theater screen. So, and once again, this is all just politically divisive propaganda, and they know exactly what they're doing. Like I said, nationwide Trump Meade Ave protests, and then this happens on the same day. I guarantee you 90% of the people out at those protests were listening to NPR on the way to the protest and on the way home. So this just adds more fuel to the fire, gets them more invested in their side of the political aisle, and these people, because they think they're, well, NPR and PBS are the only true pure news sources. No, they're not. That's what my sister listens to all day. She's completely brain dead. She's going to go out and get her 18th booster probably this summer, whatever number they're on right now. Safe and effective. Safe and effective. By the way, just down there, you can see down there in the finer print on the right side of the screen in the bottom corner, CNN exclusive, expected witnesses in Sean Combs trial include ex-partners, sources say. Remember who told you that Diddy would go down at age 54 a year before it happened? Yours truly. And again, just to remind how that happened, Clarence Avant was the clue. Clarence Avant died 54 years after establishing Sussex Records. And when he died, all of the media syndicated the image of him with Diddy and Jay-Z. And I speculated Jay-Z might go down at 54 as well. The rumors came out at the end of Jay-Z being 54, and then the first accusations came days after his 55th birthday. Shortly after this trial started getting hyped up for Diddy at age 55, beginning on May 5th. But yeah, if you forgot, right here, just another one of a gazillion examples of 54 and what's going on. Clarence Avant dead 54 years after establishing Sussex Records. Think about the entertainment industry. Think of Studio 54. But when he died, this image was put out everywhere. And that day in the stream, we talked about how both these men were going to turn 54 later that year. And Diddy would be in some deep shit at 54. And again, if you missed all that work, go back and see how it's all synced up with Denzel Washington. Two of Diddy's worst days in his life happened on Denzel's birthday, including Denzel's 54th birthday. And Denzel matters because he's Jesuit educated. And Denzel played American Gangster, the film that's related to Diddy's actual father. And remember, right after Diddy got arrested, Netflix added American Gangster to Netflix. And it was right after I connected all this right away. And by the way, let me just show you how messed up all this is again. Just the whole world of entertainment in 54. Diddy and Jimmy Page. Next to a 54-year-old Jimmy Page, Diddy told the world on Saturday Night Live, watch me rise, watch me fall. Of course, Diddy was very young when Jimmy Page was 54 years old. Diddy had that song to the tune of Kashmir, the Led Zeppelin song. And again, this song was for the Godzilla soundtrack. Godzilla came out in 54. Let me pull this up real quick. Pull all this up. I just got to bring it up since it's also on the page with this news. Hold on. Yeah, and it was all connection with Kamala, too, because they both went to the same school. That's a whole nother topic, but don't forget, Kamala couldn't pass the bar until she took it at the Jesuit University. Yeah, there's a lot more to this, but yeah, just for the record, Diddy and Kamala both went to Howard, the old 201 university. cutting the connection with the Illuminati and the Jesuits. But where's all the business about 54? Okay, again, Jimmy Page was 54 when Diddy said, "Watch me rise, watch me fall," performing his song for the Godzilla soundtrack. And again, there's a lot here, but I'll look at this post in a minute. "Come With Me" is the name of the song. Again, Godzilla, the original Godzilla from 54. Jimmy Page, 54 at the time. The word sun is 54. The sun is how we dictate time on this Catholic calendar, this Gregorian calendar named after a pope that was instituted by the Jesuit priest Christopher Clavius. Again, the point I'm making is all of this stuff was planned long ago. Watch me rise, watch me fall. And again, if you're missing what's going on with India and Pakistan, that whole thing popped off on the anniversary of the United Nations. I can't think what they call it. Resolution between the same two nations that just suffered the terrorist attack that now have them on the verge of war. And if you missed the work we did on that, part of the attack was in Kashmir, and it's literally synced with Jimmy Page and Robert Plant and John Bonham, the three remaining members of Led Zeppelin. And I learned that Robert Plant, the lead singer for Zeppelin, literally used to be married to an Indian woman. Oh my, it's crazy. The Illuminati is so far ahead of humanity, and that's why trying to explain these things to the common people is just, there aren't enough IQ points. There's not enough brain cells. There's not enough attention span. You know, they're just like, it was too complicated, as we did a video on just pretty much one number the whole way through. Yeah, the Diddy trial is about to become the number one distraction here in just a few days. May 5th, Monday, May 5th. 55-year-old Diddy on the stand on 5-5. It'll be as good as when Stormy Daniels took the stand 45 days after her 45th birthday. All right. Here, I'll see what else is buzzing real quick, and then I got to wrap this up because I got to start my stream on Patreon. Harvard students are behind the university's stand against Trump. Remember, Harvard equals 72, like school equals 72, like Jesuit order equals school. Our form of school goes back to the Catholic Church. Royal family distractions. I don't know why anyone cares. Bob Baffert, the number one villain in horse racing. Got 2 horses in the race. What's he going to do this year? At Churchill Downs. If you guys remember when Medina Spirit won in 2021, we were all over that with the 20-1 odds. It's a massive 201 ritual. Run for the Roses equals 201. A lot of times the winning time is 201 at that track. It's a short track. They call it the fastest 2 minutes in sports. Remember, they killed that horse 201 days after the first Jesuit Nation year began, after it won the Run for the Roses, but was later disqualified because they said Baffert gave it some illegal substances. Again, they got to do those kind of things occasionally to make you think there's some level of legitimacy. I guarantee you the winning horse almost every single year is on some kind of substance. Sometimes they can't even get the horse to gate. It's like raging out on whatever was just injected into its ass. Tragedy at Yellowstone, huh? I'll have to save that one for later because, yeah, I got to fire up the old Patreon stream. And again, if you guys are interested in the Derby, we'll see if we can do it again this year. We've done it a bunch of times, but we haven't hit first place since Medina Spirit. So we're on our longest drought. It's the longest drought we've had since I started doing this. See if we can correct it this year. So anyway, we'll be talking sports, Derby, and more on Patreon if you want to join us. Thank you to the super chatters. The King of Sosa. Yeah, the Knicks last night, you know, one of their old stars dies at 88. We were pretty much rock solid on the Knicks ending the series in their 88th game of the year as they did last night. The King of Sosa with the big 3. Thank you both. Oh, that looks like a double King of Sosa. I guess he's giving back some of that Knicks money last night. But hey, appreciate it, man. we'll leave it there. For everybody else, thank you for hitting the like and the share. Again, if you do want to join the Patreon, the link's in the description of every video. And until next time.